The road to Memorial Day weekend starts right now. From Dobbs Ferry, New York, it's the first round action as the host Mercy College Mavericks as the 4 seed. Play host to the Seton Hill Griffins, the number 5 seed in this year's NCAA tournament. Hello everyone and welcome here, right off the Hudson River. Dan Savarino with you. Thanks so much for joining us. And boy, we have a good one here today. First year as they expand this tournament to 6 teams, going from the traditional 4 in North and South, and it opens up an opportunity for first-round action as Lemoyne, the Dolphins, the top seed in the North, await their opponent as they watch this game here today. The Griffins, who are the runner-ups in the GMAC tournament as they fell to Mercyhurst, who come in as the number 3 seed overall. This past weekend in goal, it's Max Eisman, who is a 2-time GMAC goalie of the year to our right. To our left, it's Ryan Gibbons, a 2-time ECC goalie of the year with the 17-1 record in Ryan Gibbons, the senior. Jordan Levine has won his 3rd ECC Coach of the Year honors as Brian Novotny won his 2nd GMAC Coach of the Year in back-to-back seasons. This is the 2nd consecutive year and 3rd time all-time that Seton Hill comes in to the NCAA tournament. Experience last year falling into that Final Four to eventual champions Merrimack, while the first time ever Mercy College will get in an NCAA tournament. From left to right, the Mavs will go, and it's Antonio Ray, who has won 58% of his draws, taking on Jay Skirbo, a junior who has won 69%. Fresh 15 on the clock. We're underway. Thanks so much for joining us. Sun is shining down, a very warm day here in Dobbs Ferry, and a packed crowd who have made their way out here to Mercy Field. Mavericks coming off not just their first ECC regular season title, but their first East Coast Conference championship. 2 years removed from falling in the finals by just a goal, and then last year falling in the semifinals. That group overall, it really had a lot going from the get-go. First game really of the season that kind of opened things up and opened eyes to everyone in the NCAA tournament was the fact that they beat Lemoyne, who right now is the number 1 seed overall and could end up facing, of course, this weekend in second-round action. Beat them in Lemoyne's first game of the year. An upset here. First time they've gotten a top 5 win. First time they've really gotten a top 10 win. An important one at that. As Tommy McPartland makes a little dodge to the cage, puts it upstairs. Mavericks on the board first. 28th goal of the season for Tommy McPartland, who was an ACC first-team selection. First shot of the game goes in, and a 1-0 lead for Mercy after winning the face-off, which is going to be so important today. The Mavs were able to rattle off a ton of wins the rest of the season. They were actually number 3 for 5 consecutive weeks before a loss to Mercyhurst here on this field. And they scored just 2 goals in that contest. And then you had to start worrying. Are you going to fall into that top 6? Are you going to fall out of the top 6? Still earned themselves a victory after beating nationally ranked groups like LIU Post, and then eventually in the championship game. And what an impressive showing that was, where they had a 4-1 lead. Ended up surrendering the lead overall, and Luke Barron scored with about 30 seconds left. The ensuing face-off against Connor Farrell, who's one of the best face-off guys to do it in the nation. Violation. And then eventually it was a game-winning goal with just a couple of seconds on the clock from Bobby Chilianis. Skirbo wins this draw, the second one, and he has won the face-off battle every single game this season. He's been really, really good. All right, check that. He's won 15 of the 17 games this season overall. An offense that is averaging just about 15 goals per game and a defense around 9 goals per contest, but they have a ton of scoring depth. But here you have to face the top defensive team statistically in the country in Mercy, who comes in with 7.0 goals against average and is up there also in caused turnovers. Barron got the check up high, bringing some oohs and ahs from the crowd, but it's scooped up on the far side by Eric Badger to D-Mitty, and now they can get to work from left to right. Barron, who just came off an ECC first-team selection after winning second-team back-to-back years. The senior's been very good this season and has scored timely goals, this team defensive midfielder. Seton Hill, of course, had a wait and see after a very, very impressive schedule overall. And, of course, high hopes when they returned 3 All-Americans from last year's squad that did beat Lemoyne in the NCAA tournament before losing to Merrimack, those eventual champs. And the freshmen here for Mercy have really stepped up, including Jack Gibbons, who has 19 goals this year, as well as another 30 assists. Visa downstairs to Scotia, who's a second-team selection this year. He's got a short stick matchup. The quick attackman works up high. Shot up high by McPartland. That's stopped by Iceman. Iceman, USILA, third-team All-American last year, as Mercy gets here on the ride and pushed up ahead. Some trouble with it back in their own end, but Eric Hammer, the defender out of Ohio, moves the ball up ahead. Now they have some more difficulty in that midfield. And Kyle Gardner, who has 26 caused turnovers this year, picks up a very important ground ball and moved up ahead for another possession for the home group. 17-1 record, that one blemish mark, and right now number 8 in the USILA polls. But it doesn't really matter at this point. You still got yourself to the NCAA tournament, and more importantly, you have yourself a chance to host, where you've lost just one game here all season long. McPartland cutting inside. Works it to GLE. Chilianis shoots it low and misses wide. 43 goals this season for Bobby Chilianis. Top goal scorer on this group. Also 59 points overall for a first-team selection after a couple of second-team honors in his sophomore and junior campaigns. McPartland down low. He's got both. Tommy McPartland, 29th goal of the season. And now 9 goals over his last 4 games. Extends this lead. McPartland has been known for being a big game player throughout his entire career, even going back to his high school days. Playing for a very established program down in Nassau County on Long Island at Farmingdale. He also was the quarterback of a team in football. Was their top goal scorer overall in the lacrosse field and regularly finding themselves into their county championship games. Here he has 2 goals on 2 shots, and the Mavericks up 2-0 here in this opening frame. Skirbo, who is a specialist of the year in the GMAC, facing off against Ray, who this year has been solid. His wing play has been important. But Brett Craig, the defensive player of the year and last year's specialist of the year, he works with the pull. You got to always watch out for him. And forcing a turnover was Kyle Gardner. And now they can go up and head from left to right. Littleton, the defensive player of the year in his conference for the second time in his career. Feeding it off to Joe Poggio. Number 8, Poggio, keep an eye on him. You want a guy who is red hot late in this season. That is the freshman out of Bethpage, New York. 11 goals over his last 4 games. For a guy who has scored 18 this season, hitting at 7 goals in his first 10 games, but 11 over his last 4, including a high 6 goals in the semifinals against Roberts Wesleyan. Here's Robert Lurico, who gets a run. McSpadden working it off. Lurico down the left side. Mercy, 13 goals per game, 25th best in the entire nation. 1-1, though, against teams that are currently in the NCAA tournament as they face the top group in Lemoyne College, as we alluded to before, with their victory and then the loss to Mercyhurst later on in the season. Dipsy doodling inside. The shot with the contact. Second one bounces right off the head. Looking from the point. Joe Cortez, nothing there as Poggio works from the near wing. Boy, you just saw the Griffins smother right in the middle, and they got very lucky, but on the run, Anthony DeVito buries his 10th goal of the season, and it's all Mavericks here at home in the first. DeVito, a junior, who last year, most memorable moment being an overtime winner that he scored, has never really been a big goal scorer. He's a defensive midfielder who works sometimes with the second unit this year. And a native out of Rocky Point, Long Island, grabbing a very important 3rd goal in this game. So back to the X. Ray this season, 58% victory, but he's won 11 of the 18 battles this year. And against opponents that generally face off pretty darn well, he's fought in there for the most part. Went just 8 of 24 in the finals against Connor Farrell, but most teams around the country are on the losing end of that battle. But he still grinded his way out, and of course, don't forget about the face-off win late. Whether it was a violation or not, you're still in there, and it still messes up the timing. So Mavericks jumping back out here, first midfield unit on once more. McPartland, McSpadden. And here's Gibbons working from the point. Gibbons pretty much quarterbacking this offense from the perimeter, as McSpadden usually does from the wing. It's been quite impressive what the freshman has done this season. And that is one thing Jordan Levine has, of course, been so happy with. It's not just the veteran leadership that has stepped up this year, that has some experience in late games, but the fact that they have been able to get real good production out of their freshmen. Brett Craig, Defensive Player of the Year in the GMAC, forcing a turnover against the Offensive Player of the Year on the other side in McSpadden. Well, it does turn it over on the far alley. So possession stays here with the Mavs. Seton Hill, even though they have lost 4 games this year with a 13-4 record, their losses have been tough. And against NCAA tournament teams, they are just 1-4 overall. 2 one-goal losses, and then another loss by 4 goals twice. Once in a championship game against Mercyhurst, where they fell 14-10. Their one win against NCAA tournament teams was against Hurst in the regular season. McPartland, a little shot, it's in. First quarter, Hattie. Tommy McPartland is feeling it. A 4-0 lead with still a little more than 7 minutes to go here in this opening frame. 4 goals from McPartland. 3 goals of the 4 from McPartland. That is the 5th time this season he has scored a hat trick in a game, and it comes here in the opening 15. Mercy right now not playing like a team that has never appeared in an NCAA tournament. Tons of confidence and poise. Even when plays aren't going their way at some points, they bounce right back. And a goal hold and a violation against Skirbo, who so far right now, Ray is winning that battle at the X. So Barron up ahead to the near alley as Chilianis will cradle with it. 2 goals, including the game winner in that championship, which meant so much as they defeated LIU Post. And even though, of course, there's no automatic qualifiers here in Division II men's lacrosse, that pretty much sealed the deal for not just a home game, but get themselves a chance in this. As Gibbons rings it off the post on the run and trickles out of play, so now Seton Hill can get back at it. 3rd time in the NCAA tournament for them. First year was in 2013 when they fell to Limestone. The 1-4 record. They lost in overtime to the University of Indiana, who at the time was still a top 20 opponent. Right now the number 3 in the South. They fell to the number 1 in the North, to Lemoyne. They fell by a goal to the number 1 in the South, to Limestone. Like you said, 1-1 against right now the number 3 seed in the North in Mercyhurst. Selection committee proving that it's enough to get them in and solidify themselves into that top 6 overall. Beating the likes of possibly teams like LIU Post. Dan Ruppert, a sophomore, cutting around the cage. First shot for Seton Hill that goes in. So that's his 15th of the year. And a real important goal here for the Griffins. Still about 6 minutes to go here in this opening frame. Obviously a ton of time. You don't want to get out of the game so early on. Rupert put 3 in 8 games last season. But over his last 4, 6-1 numbers over across. 6 goals and an assist. Here on the run, missing wide is Barron. So he'll gallop off as they can get their offensive numbers on. They'll go with DeVito, Larico, and Cortez in this midfield. Poggio down low with Scorsia and Chilianis, who never comes off the field, so it seems. This group in the preseason, number 16 overall, jumped up to top 5 after the Lemoyne win and just carried it on. They've been in the top 5 for 8 weeks. They've been in the top 10 for 12. As DeVito misses this one wide left. It was an historic season overall for them. Not only is it the most wins they've ever had in their program, which was established back in 2008, but you win yourself the regular season. You win yourself a 1 seed. You get yourself in the tournament. And, of course, the loss to Mercyhurst, which did drop them out, made you start to worry a little bit because of your strength of schedule compared to some other groups that you have seen that maybe didn't get in. The only one that comes close would really be to LIU Post. Of course, a conference opponent. What a play here inside by Poggio. He got sandwiched and also got stopped. Crouch, the freshman, who was GMAC Freshman of the Year, missing wide right, working from the defensive end out of Maryland. Mercy will turn a timeout here with still about 4.5 to go in this opening quarter. A 4-1 lead for the Mavericks over Seton Hill here in the first round of the NCAA tournaments. Mercy College out of the East Coast Conference. Seton Hill out of the GMAC, Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Athletic Conference. These two groups have met a few times in the past. 2017 was the last meeting, and it was Seton Hill who got the victory. They have won 5 of the 6 meetings between these two groups. 2011 was the lone time that the Mavs were able to beat these Griffins. So we pick up play once again with Seton Hill going from right to left with their all-red uniforms trimmed with gold and white. The Mavericks in their home grays will defend. Remember, the only goal for Seton Hill at the moment against this group that has a ton of scoring depth overall. They have 6 different players on this team that have scored at least 20 goals this season. As Harper cuts down the right side, really nothing there. So he'll work it around to Bennett Johnson, who has buried 29 this season. Here's a shot up high by Rupert. Net gets denied by Gibbons. Gibbons stopping 60% of his shots this season. Second team selection this year as Ryan Mello took first team honors and goalie of the year honors after splitting it last season. But he arguably could have been the conference goalie of the year with his performances this season in between the pipes. Coming up with big saves when it matters the most. And you could probably make the argument that because his defense was so strong in front of him, it might have actually hurt him out of winning that major award. 10 all-conference selections, 3 major award winners, and 6 first-teamers coming from the Mavericks this season. While Seton Hill themselves had 10 all-conference selections with 5 first teams, 5 second teams, and winning 5 of their 6 major awards inside the conference. Here's a little quick stick in front. McSpadden gets his first of the game and 40th of the season. Ryan McSpadden, ECC Offensive Player of the Year after being the preseason favorite to start 2019. One of the 2 returning All-Americans on this group. Scotia with a nifty little pass, who has become a real distributor and depositor of the lacrosse ball all season long, as of course McSpadden has from the midfield play as well. But Scotia with a quick step behind and a nice little feed inside of that slot. So the lead extends back to 4. Ray pushing up ahead, he gets tripped up, and they're going to call a violation against the Griffins. Second time that has come in this quarter on a hold. Cortez working in the midfield, who has played in every single game this season with a goal and 5 assists in some depth role. But they'll get the first unit back on there. Gibbons from the perimeter. Gibbons a few times this season have come up with some huge games. Over his last 4, 6 goals and 10 assists. Quick shot again by McSpadden, and this time it trickles in. Deflected right off of Iceman and into the back of the net. 2 goals in less than 15 seconds of game time, and Seton Hill will burn a timeout. 6-1 advantage for the 4 seed Mercy College Mavericks. Stay with us here in the NCAA tournament. A tournament that expanded to 12 this season. 6 in the north, 6 in the south. And the goal, of course, getting to the link in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on May 26th, which will be the championship game Memorial Day weekend, a weekend that has been associated for so long around this sport of lacrosse. Quarterfinal rounds coming this weekend on Saturday, where Lemoyne will play the winner of this group, and in here in the north, Delphi will play the winner of Mercyhurst and Merrimack, who get going at 4 o'clock. They make a change at the X as Logan Gray will now take some face-offs, who has won 62 of 104 this season. But the play off the wing from Brett Craig brings the ball up ahead. Craig, one of the top LSMs you will see in the country, as they run up with Remy Sell, a freshman defender who has played in 14 games this season. Worked over to Logan Maloney, who's top on his group with 50 points this season. Maloney, a lefty attackman, you have to be very careful with, especially right along the goal line. We haven't seen them too much offensively so far in the beginning of this game, as the possession battle has been heavily in favor of the Mavericks, and an unforced turnover here by Seton Hill. Couple of unforced turnovers have given the Mavs the ball right back, as the Speedy DeVito gets back on a run. Successful clear, and Chilianis will work it to Scotia south of the goal line. A perfect conference record, and of course that one loss overall was kind of a shock here on a Saturday afternoon. Fairly nice day as well outside. Down 4-2 at halftime, then all of a sudden getting outscored in that second half for a 10-2 final score. A group that doesn't surrender a ton of goals per game and can put it up also on the offensive side of the ball, but nothing was going right. Lowest shots in the game, lowest goals throughout this entire season of the 18 that they played. And it knocked them out for a group that, again, was top 3 for really most of this season. Gibbons, little split dodge up high against the short stick. And Clayton Payson, the junior, working from the wing, and the shot misses high as McPartland had a good opportunity. With just 3 seconds on the shot clock, the Mavs will play it smart, get their midfielders off, and get ready for the transition game. Of course, first year with this shot clock, and we have seen what a factor it has played in Division II men's lacrosse this season. Timeout called by Seton Hill. Oh, check that, excuse me. That is the end of the opening quarter, as the scoreboard is way back there in the left. So 15 minutes in the books, and what a start it was for Mercy. 6-1 lead after the opening frame. Stay with us. All Mavericks through the first quarter of action. Here from Dobbs Ferry, New York, Dan Savarino with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. Of course, the only game currently in action until 4 o'clock, Mercyhurst and Merrimack over at Mercyhurst, and then eventually the University of Indiana playing host to Queens out of North Carolina. And then tonight, Tampa and Wingate down in the south. And that closes out first round action. All statistical categories heavily in favor right now of the Mavericks. No change in goal. Gibbons to our right and Iceman to our left. But the one change at the X for the last couple is Logan Gray, who's been taking some runs and here gets a win. And now you can get a guy cutting right on in Manbeck, who has scored 18 goals and assisted 22 times this year. They jumped down on an early run. They turned from a 9-8 lead into a 14-9 deficit against Mercyhurst, as this group has been in the last 3 GMAC championship games. It has been Mercyhurst and Seton Hill, the 2 teams that are associate members of this conference, Wheeling Jesuit, as a group that has made really the GMAC a competitive conference along with teams like Lake Erie and others. There's a pass up high, pulled in by Estabrooks, who has scored 23 this season for the sophomore. Calling a Ward, I believe. Oh, check that. There is a flag on the play. So they will get Eric Badger, who bends the knee, and we wait for the official call. On the man up this season, a success rate just under 40%, 8th in the nation. While on the man down for Mercy, they have surrendered goals 30% of the time. 6-on-5 Lacrosse. Maloney, quick touches right around. Here he has some room. Moves the ball over, a little step down from Johnson and a stop by Gibbons. The recovery there by Cortez, and now they can go to clear. So one shot, one save. As the ball works up ahead from Gardner, trickles right through into the GMAC Defensive Player of the Year in Brett Craig. Floats up ahead. Manbeck on the run, who was a GMAC second teamer this season in 2019. 8 goals last year, 18 this season. As this group overall losing players like Jack Moran, who was an Offensive Player of the Year last season, along with Zach Rush, who was a first-team All-American in the midfields. And on the defensive end, Joe Silla, who was a second-teamer All-American. Brought back a ton of pieces in another competitive non-conference schedule. Working south of the cage, now upstairs. On the run, it's Manbeck. Gets hounded by a couple trying to draw a flag with Kipnis and Norton right on him. Miller rocks with the left hand, pulls back to the right, cuts inside through to the shot, and it got deflected going up and over. 14 on the timer. Like a Maverick stick might have touched it, getting it right down. Here's a step down from way outside, body stop by Gibbons as it ricochets into a player. Kipnis looking up ahead. And now Gibbons from his own end of the fields. Gibbons double-figure saves 6 times this year, and he's had at least 9 in 12 games of the 18 they have played. And some of those other ones, he really wasn't needed. You look back even early season with a career high in the net of 19 stops against number 2 Lemoyne. Well, it's took away any chance for the Dolphins to come back in that contest. Lemoyne has faced both these teams this season. And both very early on this season as well. Scotia inverting this time, working up high. Here's the shot by Gibbons, it's put in. 20-goal scorer in his rookie year, Jack Gibbons. It's now 7-1. Gibbons, who this year has been so good at facilitating the lacrosse ball up high. Puts his 20th goal in the back cage. We go back to the face-off X. Skirbo back out there. But loses this ensuing draw on the wing play by Anthony DeSiglia, who are in first-team honors in the ECC this year. Here's DeVito cutting right to the cage. And eventually it is Craig who slides over to take away any shooting space. Scotia from the alley as the Mavericks get their numbers back on. The way they have won games this year has been impressive for the most part. Haven't really had to come back in a ton of contests except for really LIU Post, if you look at it. Usually getting in complete control early on in the game. Gibbons on the run. This one is stopped and goes wide as Iceman makes a piece of it before it trickles out of play. Fresh shot clock here for the Mavericks. Already up by 6. Scotia working low. Chilianis cutting right along the crease. It got denied. And I'm not sure if he stepped in as well, but it was close to it. Moving from left to right in transition. Here comes Seton Hill. A bull dodge by Payson, the D-midi. Tries to feed it back outside. Trickles through 2. And foul called against Mercy in the back end of that play. Fresh timer here for Seton Hill. Shot from the side. Gibbons made the stop. And you can hear it ring right off the body as well. skips right through. His bodies come together and fall to the turf. And now a transition game, an opportunity up ahead. Guglielmo dancing around into the near alley. It was a Griffin who went down when he got sandwiched there. I believe it was Rupert. And it was. He was a little slow to hustle off the field. We'll keep an eye on that. The lone goal scorer here for Seton Hill in this contest. Of course, now with this kind of lead and a lot of time on the clock, you got to play smart lacrosse and hit your shots. This group generally shoots pretty well. A third of their opportunities tickling the twine. DeVito from the alley. Trying to get a step on a defender and sell. And they work it south of the goal. Chilianis looks up. Sees the shot clock. 10 seconds to shoot. Trying to get a cutter in Poggio. Instead, he'll take it himself. Shoots it down low. It's in. Bobby Chilianis. 44th of the season. As the clock was dwindling down. An 8-1 lead. Chilianis has been so impressive all season long. 4th in the conference in points, 5th in goals. And 7 goals shy of actually breaking a program record that Jesse Wood set in goals in his career. Has scored the second most goals of any Maverick in this 12-year program history. DeCiglia right on the wing, and there's a player down and grabbing themselves right in the midsection. Flag on the play, and it looks like it's Ray who is down and having trouble getting up. Again, Mavericks do have the ball, so play could have stopped. Training staff will come out and look. And it looked like it was a slash that got him possibly in the wrist or midsection. He is very slow to get up. Ray so far has been a difference maker here at the Faceoff X against a guy who was 8th in the entire nation in faceoff win percentage. Nick Shearing would be the guy to back him up if Ray can't go. And Shearing has taken 83 draws this year, winning 53% of them. So he walks off under his own power. Good sign to see. And it is Brett Craig who sits for a minute. So the Griffins lose arguably their best defender and a man-up opportunity where this season they are 7th best in the entire nation at a 40% success rate. And, of course, keep an eye on number 2 in Chilianis, who is 2nd in the entire nation in man-up goals with 11. Scorsha will start from the far corner. 1 minute of 6-on-5 lacrosse. And the first man up we'll see of the Mavericks. Jojo Janovi coming out, 22 getting a run, who has been a man-up specialist all season long. And has gotten some runs on the attack as well. They try the hit and ball trick. Working inside, Chilianis trying to feed a pass intended for Janovi. Ball hits the deck, and eventually it's scooped up onto the far side by Seton Hill. Krauts with a good ground ball. Up ahead with the pole for Banks Wilson, number 44. And into the near alley as Maloney will play with it. And they kill off the rest of this penalty. Still playing one down. So you wonder if they want to go unless they really see something. Manback will work from the sideline. And just wait until this penalty does expire. We're back all even. So an 0 for 1 for the Mavericks on the man up. Estabrook The guy who came right off the bench, darting towards the cage, now south of the net. Shot from the wing, it's put in. John Hofseth, 22nd of the season. Hofseth, a redshirt junior out of British Columbia, Canada, who was a GMAC all-freshman team 2 years ago when he scored 33. Hofseth, who had 22 points through his first 4 games this year, but 12 points now in his last 5. An important goal because it keeps, of course, Seton Hill in range, down by 6. Still time to go. About 6 minutes and change remaining. Ray coming right out on the faceoff. Ball trickles between the 30s. It is gobbled up by Skirbo, now Craig. So an important win for the Griffins after scoring a goal. A lot of depth on this team overall in terms of offensive numbers. You don't have the one guy who can really push it away time and time again. They have a few real key weapons, including that guy on the shot inside. It's Robert Hofseth, the younger of the two, and the sophomore puts his team best 35th of the season into the back of the net. Back-to-back goals. McGarity Harper with an assist. The redshirt freshman. And a nice little feed in front as nobody picked up 45 right on the crease. So face-off win, a goal, back-to-back tallies. And now Seton Hill getting on a little bit of run. Still loose right along that Maverick logo. Popped out DeVito trying to flag it down. Who last touched it? It was DeVito. So Seton Hill wins back-to-back faceoffs after scoring goals. And Manbeck will work it into the midfield with Rupert, who scored the first goal today. Little dodge from the goal line. Back up to the point as Johnson spins around and rocks from the left wing. Check that, the right wing, and now pisses it right back off. Here's Hofseth. John Hofseth gets sandwiched by 2. Kipnis fighting for it and scooped up by Badger along the goal line extended. So an empty-handed possession, and the Mavericks working from right to left. Gibbons high pass and turns it over. Manbeck and into the alley for Johnson. So they got back in a nice position there, and usually Gibbons, who is pretty strong in his clear game. John Hofseth gets double teamed. Littleton got a piece of it. Gets the ground ball, then gets absolutely leveled by Johnson. A shot attempt by Hofseth. Robert, that is. And it's scooped up by Gibbons, and now they run on the far side with Badger. A successful clear for the Mavericks. An 8-1 lead, now 8-3 here in the second quarter between number 4 seed Mercy and number 5 seed Seton Hill in this first round action of the NCAA tournament on a very warm day here in New York. McPartland has 3 goals of the 8 that have been put on the board. He cradles with the right hand as now Joe Cortez will take it. and hit Poggio on the far side. Chilianis from GLE. Poggio, shot denied by Eisman. Max Eisman, who has stopped 56% of his shots this year. He's 12th in the nation in goals against and 14th in save percentage overall. McPartland with the pump fake. Pass just getting out of the range of Cortez, but he recovers. Still 65 seconds to shoot, though, with the fresh timer. Cortez working from the midfield. Now Scorscia. Those two play catch along the perimeter. Seton looking for a pass and tried to skip it across. A turnover by the Mavericks. Mercy will hustle back on the defense. And here comes David St. Clair, the sophomore, who plays some D mid. Estabrooks and Rupert. Rupert, face dodge. He's got some room. Back to the left hand. Slide came across nicely by Kipnis. Barron with the caused turnover, but here Gibbons with a poor pass. So some unforced turnovers here in the second quarter. Giving Seton Hill a few more opportunities, down by 5 tallies. Colin Mitchell with a running start from the midfield. Throws on the brakes against DeSiglia. Mitchell taking it right in front of his own cage. Lowering the shoulder, down the near side, and nothing there for Estabrooks, who scored just 4 goals in 10 games as his first year. Rupert has both. Cut right across the middle, little flick of the wrist. And a 3-goal run brings it back to 8-4. Rupert, who had 6 goals, all against Walsh in the regular season, and then the semifinals. They met each other twice in 3 games. 4 consecutive games now with multiple goals. At the X. Gray and Ray trickles over to Maverick Real Estate and picked up by John Hofseth. Huge win. Seton Hill creeping back into this game. Down by 4. John Miller, the senior, cutting behind the net. Miller this year a first-team selection, 17 goals last year, nearly doubling that with 29 this year. Quick little shot denied, and it ricochets high into the air and right back into the stick of Manbeck. So a lucky break there for Seton Hill. After a good stop by Gibbons, the point-blank opportunity. Timeout called by the Griffins. Brian Novotny talking it over. 2-time GMAC Coach of the Year, but he's won 3 Conference Coaches of the Year during his time, including the Coach of the Year in D2 Lacrosse Magazine in 2012. He has been here 13 seasons now, and since 2010, currently a 112-44 overall record for a guy who was a former head coach in the Pittsburgh area. After playing at the University of Pittsburgh and went on to coach the high school level in that area. bringing groups to state finals in the early 2000s and bringing this team to being a regular power in not just the North region, but really all of Division II men's lacrosse. If you haven't taken a look at really what just the entire seeding is, there are a lot of very good lacrosse teams that made this tournament, very good ones who didn't. Lemoyne the 1, Adelphi the 2, and then Mercy and Seton Hill the 4-5. Mercyhurst at 3 and playing the 3-6 with the defending champions in Merrimack, who had 3 tough losses this year to teams that were in the top 5 all year, like an LIU Post and Adelphi on the road, as well as Lemoyne. Merrimack as the 6th and final seed in the North might still be one of the most dangerous teams that you will face all season come tournament time. Worked inside, and Hofstad trying to pick it up. Gibbons way out there, and a nice little defensive play moves the ball up ahead by Littleton. And as they fight for on the far sideline with Kipnis over there. And it goes back to the Mavericks, and Badger will start with the rock. John Hofstad right on top of him, and it doesn't matter. That is the end of the opening half. So a huge first quarter propelled Mercy to now an 8-4 lead at halftime. But the Griffins fighting on with 3 consecutive goals, bringing this back to an 8-4 game after 30 minutes of play. Stay with us. Third quarter is just a couple of minutes shy here in the first round action of the NCAA tournaments.
Champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can, and then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. On the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game, because we're here to play and learn. But most importantly, we're here to discover ourselves. Our vision, our heart, our drive to achieve every goal we aim for, because we want to be champions at the highest level, life. At Division II, the opportunities are here. Are you ready?
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor.
It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Being a champion takes more than skill, more than endless drills, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the heart to give it your all, the agility to thrive from any angle, and the relentless drive to be the best. Welcome to Division II, where the pursuit is yours to create, and the question isn't, can you do it? It's will you?
Being a champion takes more than talent, more than the perfect pass, more than using your head. Being a champion takes the spirit to always push harder, the ability to overcome any hurdle, and the fire to be the best. Welcome to Division II, where the pursuit is yours to create. And the question isn't, can you do it? It's will you?
I'm basically a student of the world. Born in Finland, grew up in Morocco. I speak 5 languages, but the US is home now, and Mercy College is my school. I got my MBA here. Their Strategic Consultant Institute gave me 3 different projects for real businesses. Real world experience before I even hit the real world. Mercy's 1-year MBA program inspired me to pursue a career in consulting, and I know it will pay off, in America or anywhere else. I'm Akeem Lahlu, future business consultant, Mercy College, class of 2016.
Welcome back to Mercy College. After one half of action, it is an 8-4 lead for the Mercy College Mavericks, the 4 seed, over the 5th seed Seton Hill Griffins, who put 3 straight in to end that first half of action and bringing it back to a 4-goal game. Ryan Gibbons in goal to our left in the gray uniforms, tops and bottoms. In goal to our right, it's Max Eisman. Gibbons made 6 stops. Eisman made 6 stops as well, surrendering 8. At the X, exactly even between these two groups overall. As Ray tries to flag it down, getting sandwiched by 2 and flips a pass up ahead to Chilianis. And he also got rung up as well. Chilianis still has the lacrosse ball, but Ray was a little bit slow to get up. And it already took a slashing penalty and drew a penalty, which Mercy was 0 for 1 on. Dan Savarino with you here in Dobbs Ferry. Thanks so much for joining us. McPartland at 3 goals and an assist, leading all players on this group. McSpadden has 2 goals overall and a goal each from Chilianis, DeVito, and Gibbons, propelling them with was an 8-1 lead. 2 4-goal runs, bringing this lead up ahead. But in the last few minutes of that second quarter, much different. Shot down low, Chilianis, after an excellent pass up high from Gibbons. Mercy picking up right where they left off in that first quarter of action. It's now 9-4. Chilianis is second on 4 shots, and Gibbons a 2-point game himself, extending this lead over Seton Hill. Shots after the first half, not including that one, was 20-11 in favor of the Mavericks. It was 15-3 after the first. Turnovers 9-7. Seton Hill with that disadvantage there. The faceoffs, like we said, were even. But the clears, both teams did fail on a couple, and both teams were 0 for 1 on the man up. Skirbo and Ray still battling right at that Maverick logo. DeCiglia couldn't get it on the first attempt for the ground ball as he's being pestered there by John Miller. Ball trickles out of play, and the Griffins get it back. So their first possession here of the third quarter. Group starting to pick it up. 8 shots overall, and 4 of those going into the back of the net, getting past Gibbons. They had some good opportunities from a bunch of different goal scorers. Rupert's the only player who has scored 2. Here's Colin Mitchell, and ball trickles out of play on an unforced turnover. So Max Littleton will start in his own end of the field. Littleton, Defensive Player of the Year. Second time in his career that he earns that honor, and did miss a couple of games in the early portion of the schedule. Portland nearly handcuffing Gibbons, but he'll cradle and gallop over to the near side until they get McSpadden back on. This group overall for the Mavericks, and Jordan Levine has said it, it's really just the balance between the leadership and what these young guns have been doing. McSpadden is one of those leaders. He's got 3. Ryan McSpadden, the Canadian out of Toronto, who has made his mark on this program. Scorshaw will be given an assist. In 2016, his rookie year, he won the Rookie of the Year in the East Coast Conference with 23-19-43 across. His second season, he led the team in points with 60, 30, and 30. Last year, he was an All-American second team, and I'm sure this year he'll probably find his name somewhere on that All-American list when it does come out. What a season he has had. 77 points coming in today, surpasses into the 80s. Logan Gray wins the next faceoff, and then the shot goes wide. So a 10-4 lead. And Mercy has had comfortable leads really throughout this game. For the most part, they have been up by at least 4 goals, if not more. Seton Hill trying to capitalize on every possession they have gotten. Like I said, their early season schedule was really so tough from the get-go. They started off 4-3 overall. Wins over tough groups and teams that were receiving votes like a Malloy College, but the overtime loss to Indianapolis, the loss to Lemoyne at home. Then eventually a win over Chestnut Hill, and then a loss once again to Lindenwood, or excuse me, win over Lindenwood, and then a loss to Limestone. Then they rattled off 8 consecutive wins for being runner-ups in that GMAC. Shot goes wide, but actually they're going to call it a shot clock change, so that means definitely hit something. So it'll be a save for Gibbons. As John Hofseth, who has scored today, as has Robert Hofseth. Down the right side, and nothing there once more as it's Norton who's right on top of him. Check that Littleton. This shot goes wide, bounces up and over, and it will stay with another fresh 80 on the clock. Cutting inside. Rupert, nothing there. Maloney, quick touches all the way around. Hofseth. Little roll against Littleton. And you can't do too much there from goal line extended. Here's some space, but it hits the side of the net. On a shot attempt on the far side by John Hofseth, who last year 40 goals. It has been cut nearly in half, but of course tons of depth overall with his 22 this season. Successful clear for the Mavericks as we played just about 2 minutes of lacrosse here in the third quarter. And Mercy putting 2 more on the board. Now, of course, when you have teams and programs that are still on the younger side from when they began, like a Mercy, got to win some championships. You want to find some of those staple wins. And this season from the get-go, that's exactly what you started to see with game number 2, and it just carried on. Winning a conference championship in dramatic fashion as well. There is no reason why any of these groups, 1-6, this year on both sides, aren't capable of winning a national championship. McPartland's shot is stopped just as the shot clock buzzed off. So Eisman clears the ball up ahead. And here comes David St. Clair. St. Clair slicing through 2. Tries to flip a pass up high as he had some pressure there on the ride. And his intended pass for Payson goes into the stands. So now McPartland having some difficulty in his own end, but not too much. He had 2 bodies right around him. Up ahead to Badger and Chilianis. Badger will sprint off so Gibbons can come on, as can Cortez. The chant is "Let's Go Mercy" here at their home field, and it's been a packed crowd at Mercy Fields. Bounce pass to Cortez. The step down. It's in. It's a guy who doesn't score a ton of goals, but he just scored a big one to extend this lead. Only his second of the season. Joe Cortez. The junior out of Yorktown Heights. 11-4 advantage. Antonio Ray, Logan Gray at the X. The difference so far in this contest, just Mercy capitalizing on every chance they seem to be getting. They've been shooting the ball very efficiently overall. Their ride's been strong. They've made some good defensive plays. And more importantly, they've been solid at the X. which is really all you need to be. You don't need to win 19 of 20 all the time to win a game. You need to get good goaltending. There's that old kind of formula that a lot of coaches around not just D2, D1, high school, they all use. If you end up winning at least 100% in total, that's adding up between save percentage, adding up between face-off percentage, you will win yourself a lacrosse game. Some of the best in the nation believe that. And that formula is sometimes working, and right now it is in favor of Mercy. Cortez getting a run right after he scores. Hits McPartland, and he'll work from the perimeter. Short stick matchup with St. Clair. Drops it off to Gibbons. McPartland with the face dodge. With the right hand cutting right around the crease. And not much room for him to go. Joe Poggio getting a running start himself. Gets the slide and right back to Chilianis. Cortez from the point. Getting production in a lot of different ways, not just in this game, but over the last couple of weeks. Scorsha, one of those guys who's been a steady player all season long with more than 50 points this season. Well, of course, all the goal-scoring attention has gone to this guy in Chilianis, who shoots it low to low and rang it, I think, right off the left post. Yes, not, because it was a shot clock violation. Did hear something. Could have just been a stick that might have hit the post. Seton Hill been playing catch-up since basically the opening draw, where Mercy scored 2 quick ones. Some trouble for the Griffins as they don't get it over and into the box in time. Here's Luke Barron. And Chilianis will take his time. Some of the wins this season overall, and they've really been victories that they haven't had to worry too much about against groups that were receiving votes in the early season and some that were a little closer than others. And this pass cuts inside, intended for Chilianis, and into the stick of Brett Craig. But after the Lemoyne win, teams like Georgian Court, who's a good team out of the CAC scene, was receiving votes early on this season with an 8-6 win. We had to grind out a victory towards the end, and they were up. Even teams like Southern New Hampshire out of the NE10, where they defeated by 10 goals. And, of course, we all know what the NE10 brings in and year out in terms of their competition. A 1-goal win over Lake Erie, who was a group that was receiving votes this year. Here's a chance from the wing, and Gibbons made the stop. It looked like it was Hofseth who took it. Now here's some room as the stick falls, and a great chance from Esterbrooks. Well, couldn't get anything to go. Littleton on the far side. Working it backwards to Norton. And now DeVito, who tries to swim out of danger against Robert Hofseth. High pass got deflected, but now an odd man rush if they want it. Scorsha. And the slide came back nicely from Remy Sell, taking away any chance to go straight to the cage. Scorsha rolling the ball back to midfield as Cortez will work with it. Robert Larico also out there. Number 33, who got some runs early on in this game. Larico, 4 goals in 12 games this season. He shoots on the run, and he's got himself an NCAA tournament goal. Larico's 5th of the season 4.5 to go here in the third frame. An 8-goal lead, largest lead today. Robert Larico, who did attend 2 other schools prior, SUNY Albany, SCSU, but in his first year in a Maverick uniform after an All-American career over in Connecticut. 5th goal of the season. And this home game has been all Mercy up to this point. Ball trickles to the far side. Fighting for it is Gardner, but it's gobbled up by John Miller. Miller, the senior, cutting to the goal line. Hofseth looking inside, shot right in the slot and got denied. Johnson with the second chance is in. So tough play right along the crease. One of the Griffins were able to scoop it up and put it in quickly. Seton Hill needs that one with still a ton of time remaining on this clock. Zierbell going back to the X. An All-American honorable mention last year. So Johnson will be given the goal. And for Johnson, that brings him to the 30-goal plateau. .12-5 game. Still a lot of time remaining. And a push will end up giving the Mavericks the ball right back. So starting from midfield, after surrendering a goal, it's Anthony DeVito. Mercy, when you just look back at their history, of course, year number 1, just a 5-10 record, didn't qualify for the tournament, but the last number of years, from really 2017 on, they have been a staple in the East Coast Conference, which of course is so competitive every year. But in the last few seasons has really been top-heavy, with NYIT and LIU Post being the other 2 groups that you have to worry about. Little stutter step move past Larico and denied. Eisman with a nice stop. 2-time goalie of the year and a 2-time first-teamer inside of the conference. Starting the last 7 games of 2017 and never looked back from there. DeVito against the short stick, getting a couple of bumps from St. Clair. Now sets a little pick. Larico to Scorscia. Dominic Scorscia. Distributor and depositor of the lacrosse ball all season long. But with just 1 second on the shot clock, attempts not to shoot. Drops it into the far corner, and they get back on defense. A little under 2.5 to go here in the third frame. Colin Mitchell moving it behind the cage. And now takes it as he works against Badger himself. Mitchell rocks and back to the point. Rupert with 2 goals thus far in this contest. Gets out of danger. To McGarity Harper. Harper, a big body. Mitchell starting from the alley with a split dodge. Gets the pole now in Norton. The always physical close defender. Here's some room for a step down, and it's in. Bennett Johnson, 2 goals here in the quarter. It's now 12-6. Well, Johnson, who was a second-teamer in the GMAC this season after a first-team selection 2 years ago. Last year, an injury-shortened season. Adams scored just 3 goals and 5 points overall. But he's 2 years removed as the team's leading goal scorer and leading scorer overall, scoring 4 goals in the GMAC championship a few years back. He's been heating up as of late. That's now his 18th goal over his last 7 games. Off the wing, it's Brett Craig, who leads this team in ground balls, cause turnovers, the do-it-all LSM. So still time remaining, and of course, you win the next face-off, you try and get something on the board and create some momentum. Here's a swim dodge that gets stopped on an attempt from Estabrooks. Big hit in the backfields. And we'll see if this ends up bringing a call. It does. So Barron starts from his own end of the field, working against 2 down the near sideline. It's hacked a couple of times, and it's going to end up drawing a flag as John Hopseth will probably be going off for slashing. So a free possession in the last minute of play here in the quarter. And expect them to try and dwindle this all down with just 30 on the clock. After a second quarter overall that the Griffins started to storm their way back, bringing it back to a 4-goal game. Julianis loses the lacrosse ball on the near side on the double team. And with 8 seconds to go, they'll have it and probably hang on to it. One-minute slashing penalty is the call. 0 for 1 on the man up. So Gibbons will hang on to the ball for 8 seconds. He'll have to run out of way here, as Craig right on top of him. They try and get this very important possession, as those two have a couple of words towards the end of the quarter. Scorsha telling them, stay quiet here. So it will be 52 seconds of man-up time to start the 4th quarter here in the first round of the NCAA tournament. It's Mercy and Seton Hill. The Mavericks just 15 minutes shy of their first ever NCAA tournament win. And here they start with the lacrosse ball to begin the 4th frame. Dan Savarino with you. Thanks for joining us from Dobbs Ferry. All Mercy up to this point, as the Finns up in Syracuse, the Lemoyne Dolphins, the top seed, await the winner. Skip pass to the far side and put in. McSpadden on the man up. His fourth goal today. And it takes just 20 seconds into this fourth quarter to extend the lead to 13-6. Scorsha given the assist on the play. So McSpadden with a team high and game high, 4 goals in this contest. For his 43rd of the season and 5th on the man up. There's also a change in the net as Kevin Moe, a 6'4", 310-pound sophomore who has appeared in 6 games this season, just about 96 minutes, will man the net as they knocked out the top goalie in the GMAC.
Now on goal for Seton Hill, number 48, Kevin Moe.
So the ovation of the goalie change from the hometown Mercy crowd. And this team does not give up a ton of goals. If you look at just their schedule, they gave up 14 in a loss against Lemoyne. Yes, they did give up 12 in a win. But the most goals that they have surrendered this season was 15. They've only given up 14 or more 3 times this season. Gibbons looking for number 14 and draws a penalty on the play. So after the man-up tally by McSpadden, Mercy getting right back to it. Clayton Payson sits for 30 seconds. And the Seton Hill staff not too happy about it. It's a 30-second push and a chance to extend this to 14. Gibbons quick touch. McPartland with space and puts it up high. Seven-goal lead, and still a couple of more seconds of 6-on-5. Gibbons now from the point. It's in. On the man up. Mercy's lead is back to 8. Gibbons, second of the game. And 4th man-up goal of the season for a guy who was named Rookie of the Week 3 times this year and also earned himself second-team honors inside of the conference. Just the 4th time this season that this Griffins group, who generally holds opponents under 10, has surrendered 14 in the game. Ray whacking at the ball and gives a little more space and time for DeCiglia and also brought a push. And now a flag that comes late. This might go against DeCiglia. It's unnecessary roughness for a minute against Anthony DeCiglia. So the senior will sit for 60. And Seton Hill, who trails by 8, heads back on the man up, where they have failed to execute. Six on 5. Mitchell manning the point. Quick touches all the way around as everyone got a piece of it. Pocket to pocket along the far side. Straight on, thinking about it. His man back, here's the shot, gets denied as Johnson was the one who did it. But put in by Colin Mitchell, who picked up the rebound and tacked it home for a man-up goal. Back to 7. Mitchell's 18th of the season. The second-team all-conference selection. So right place, right time. They get a goal quick. And still with 12.5 to go. Some face-off wins and some possessions would help. Gerba, who went 22 of 28 last game. Right now, under 50%. Ray wins it and then gets leveled. Ray has had a tough day, and he has drawn a couple of penalties. So we await the call. This will be the third time Antonio Ray draws a flag. Unreleasable for a minute. Andrew DeSanta. An unreleasable penalty for an illegal body check. So they have scored on their last 2 man-ups in this 7-goal outing. Gibbons, quick passes. McSpadden now the far side as they skip it up. Scorsha, little bounce pass behind the back. Genevieve, no. Kevin Moe with a nice stop after some nifty passing. Moe's pass right up the middle off the edge of the stick, right at the Maverick logo. DeSeglia fighting for the ball, bodies coming together. Nearly trickles out of play right between those 30s. Mercy has it, and Scorsha moving up ahead. Still playing up. 70 to shoot as well, as they can take their time. Pass to the far side, looking for McSpadden. He cradles. And we're back all even. This is the second time that Mercy has failed on the man-up. But still took time off this clock as McPartland works downstairs. And Chilianis will begin behind the cage. 2 goals for number 2 today. Working around the crease, gets the slide. It's knocked down as well, and a couple of whacks. Ball hits the deck. Down to that far side, they continue to fight for it. This has been a really tough game between these two groups. A lot of body checks, a lot of hits. Scorsha on the recovery. Fakes the pass, looks over, sees he only has 5 seconds to shoot. Now Gibbons with 3 to shoot. To the left hand, now back to the right, gets it off in time. They're going to call a shot clock violation, so I'm not sure if the ball ever hit the net. Still about 10 minutes to go in a 7-goal game. Mercy has led the entire way. Here's some room from the point. Rupert. On the pass over to Maloney. It's 14-8. Logan Maloney, who's been fairly quiet today, a first-team selection and team's leading point scorer. But they have done a nice job defensively of taking away his looks. Rupert given the assist. He's got a 3-point day. So Logan Gray will take this next draw for Seton Hill. Ray still out there for the Mavericks, and procedure is called against Ray. So a needed win as Miller passes it up ahead to Mitchell, who cradles into the far alley. 9:30 to go, 14-8. Harper getting a run here, working from the point. Running behind the cage, but slipping. And turning the ball over in the process. Mitchell just having some trouble behind the cage, as now DeSiglio will run with it. Scorscia and Poggio on a successful clear. This Division II tournament, of course, has had really a wacky kind of history to it when you start looking back. The first one ever in 1974 when Towson State defeated Hobart by a goal. And that's when they used to bring D2 and D3 together. 1979 was the first sole Division II lacrosse championship, which the Adelphi University Panthers won. The first of their 7, which is more than anybody in Division II, and 2 more than Lemoyne, who has won a bunch since the early 2000s. Here's a chance inside, and Mo made the stop on the Chilianis play, but he stepped in the crease. There was a time period from 1982 to 93 where there wasn't a Division II championship. Adelphi was one of those groups that did get invited to some of the D1 tournaments. A different time than, of course, what we have today. But since then, the Panthers, who have not won since 2001 and sit as the 2 seed, and Lemoyne, who is looking for their 6th national championship, most recently for them coming in 2016, as they've won in 04, 06, 7, 13, and 16, and have been probably the most prominent group since the early 2000s under head coach Dan Sheehan. Cortez got the ball knocked out. A nice play by Torpy, the sophomore LSM. Gibbons slips, opening up some room on the far side for Manbeck. There's also a flag on the play back at midfield. Manbeck, quick pass, shot, it's in. Logan Maloney with back-to-back tallies. 6-goal game and 6.5 to go. Seton Hill cutting into this. Who have had some signature wins throughout this season. Number 14, Lindenwood, they beat by 6. Mercyhurst by 2 in the regular season, who at the time ranked number 11. A win over over Lake Erie on the road, who was receiving votes. And then a win at LIU Post by 2, where they were really a top 10 and a top 5 for most of the season. It has been an impressive schedule for a 13-4 record that got them into this game, but they have been playing catch-up throughout. Along the wing, a broken stick. Strong plays by Kyle Gardner, who's had himself a real good season overall. It earns the Mavs the possession. Again, winner of this, you already know it by now. You should. Plays Lemoyne this upcoming Saturday, the top seed, who are in their 17th NCAA championship berth overall. After winning the NE10s on the road, Adelphi won it due to a tiebreaker after they defeated Merrimack. And then Lemoyne had to get a game-winning goal in the final seconds of the semifinals to even get them to the championship. Up for most of the title game. And Delphi really couldn't do much in the third quarter. And those Dolphins winning their 14th NE10 crown. This ball still stays with the Mavericks in Scotia. Another one from McPartland as he darted right across the middle. His fourth goal today. 31st of the season for Tommy McPartland. Whose accolades have been so impressive throughout his 3 years here in Dobbs Ferry. Rookie of the Year, third-team selection in 2017, second-teamer last year, and a first-team selection this season. Five and a half to go. Pass going backwards. DeCiglia can't get it. Got one piece of it. Running over it is Littleton. And that gave an opportunity here for Ryan Manbeck, who dances his way around. Tries a little behind the back as he was being pestered. Johnson whacking Barron, and they're going to call a foul against him. Oak Barron, the all-conference midfielder. Cradles through two as he sprints his way to the far side of the field. Now fires a pass on that Chilianis will bring in. Under 5 minutes and approaching 4. Another penalty coming. And this one will go against the Griffins. Second flag comes as Chilianis uses those feet to draw two. McPartland out of midfield. Tries a little behind the back, floating it over, and it'll trickle out. So we wait for the two calls as Scotia looks over to the fans and tries to pump them up. Maloney takes one knee. And we still wait for the other. So there's actually 3 penalties on this play. It's a slashing penalty to Andrew Clark, number 55, for a minute. It is also a slashing penalty to Colin Torpy for a minute, and then a technical foul against Logan Maloney for 30 seconds. So the very rare 6-on-3. You did not see it very often. So 2 slashing penalties and a technical offside penalty. 6-on-3 for 30 seconds, and then 6-on-4 for a minute. And with this kind of lead and the amount of time you have, with under 4 minutes to go now, just about, you use this full 30. Still 60 seconds to shoot. So it'll still have 6-on-4 as Gibbons thought about it. Cortez out there manning the point. And we're back to 6-on-4 lacrosse now. So all four out there using the pole, as you would expect. And Brett Craig was the one who joined the play. Ball got knocked down. Picked right back up by McPartland. 30 seconds to shoot, and just about 15 to go of the 6-on-4. And it doesn't look like they're really going to do much here with it, except more importantly, take off the time that they need. Now they shoot. And McSpadden got stopped by Mo. Long pass up ahead as the two come out of the sin bin, but trickles right back onto the Mercy side as Cortez runs into Seton Hill real estate. Under 3 minutes to go. It was number 2 Lemoyne who came in here on a cold and rainy day back on February 17th. Just game number 2 of the season for Mercy in the first contest for the Dolphins here at Mercy Fields. A contest that Mercy jumped out to a 4-2 lead. Lemoyne took a very, very brief lead. And then they propelled themselves ahead on a career-high 19 stops from Ryan Gibbons in the net. It was a game that kind of shocked everyone amongst the Division II landscape, just because Lemoyne is not a group that generally goes down early on in the season. They're still the 1 seed, and they're still trying to avenge a loss. Those 2 defeats only came to Merrimack and Mercy. High little pass, and it will go out as there was just 1 second to go on the shot clock. A $140 remaining in regulation. Flag on the play. It'll go against the Mavericks. Maloney passed off and moving behind the cage, it's Miller. Rupert, quick shot. It's up and in. Third goal from Logan Maloney here in the second half. His 25th of the year. So still 1 minute and 17 seconds to go. It's a 5-goal game. Seton Hill, who will graduate some great players during their time. Down by 5, down throughout this entire game, and have had themselves one heck of a season, earning themselves a 5 seed. The assist goes to Dan Rupert, who has a 4-point day. From the get-go, Mercy got on the board real early. That Seton Hill wins this next draw by Craig on the wing. And they will call a timeout. And with 1 minute to go, 5 goals not completely impossible. Tough, but not impossible. So they will talk things over as we recap this game overall. Here from Dobbs Ferry. 4 goals in the contest by both McPartland and McSpadden. It took just 1 minute and 2 seconds into the game for Tommy McPartland to get his first. He followed that one up, and we weren't even 4 minutes deep before it was already a 2-0 lead. They opened up the first 4 goals of the game, and then they had another 4-goal run to extend it to 8-1. They had a few 8-goal leads in this contest, which has been their largest today, but they have been up by at least 4, really, since going back to the 5-1 goal at 2:54 of the remaining in that opening frame. And since then, the Griffins haven't been able to bring him back closer than 4 goals in the game. Right now it is 5, and there's still a little more than 60 seconds to go. Chilianis was there for the slash for a minute. This is a man-up opportunity. Looking for Maloney, got deflected and last touched off of a Maverick stick. Johnson from the point. Now in the far wing, bounce shot misses wide by Hofseth. Running start from the alley. As the crowd gets into it as we approach the 40-second mark. To the far side, low shot, Gibbons made the stop. Heaves a pass up ahead and has 2 guys darting up. The home run pass intended for Badger got knocked out. Last touched off of a Maverick, though, as nobody got a piece of it. An historic day as we open up our first 12-team tournament and a first-round matchup. A 4-5 as this Johnson shot misses wide. 10 seconds to go. A timeout is called by Mercy. From start to finish, this team just jumped right out onto it. Saturday, 12 o'clock, the top seed Lemoyne will be the next battle for Mercy. Second time those 2 teams will meet this season. And 2 groups that are very familiar with one another, as generally the 2 programs have played each other for a number of years. It has become a consistent battle between the Dolphins and the Mavericks. And then also going on right now, Mercyhurst and Merrimack. That winner will play Adelphi in their quarterfinal battle on Saturday at 1 p.m. down in Garden City. One more shot. It stopped. Kipnis throws it up. And this historic season for Mercy continues. Their first ever NCAA tournament game. Their first ever NCAA tournament win. 15-10, the final score. As they send the fans home here in Dobbs Ferry happy. They're going up to Syracuse to take on the top seed in the Lemoyne Dolphins. And it'll actually be a double Mercy Lemoyne battle, as Friday the women's lacrosse team will play the defending national champions up in Syracuse as well on Friday afternoon. And then Saturday at noon, Lemoyne and Mercy, second round and 4th time they will meet in just about 26 months overall between these 2 groups. What an impressive performance here by Mercy College. A 15-10 wire-to-wire victory. Many thanks to everyone, as always, here from Mercy College. For one final time, I'm Dan Savarino saying thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.